Welcome to the Divorce Devil Podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Rachel. Follow us as we dive into all the positive and negatives of post-divorce recovery. Stay tuned for some real and sometimes raw end-of-the-road divorce topics. Please put on your big pants because we're full of honesty, authenticity, and irrefutable truths.
This progressive podcast ain't for the faint-hearted. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody out there, to Divorce Devil episode 69. This is our special episode, 69, baby. 69. 69 episodes. So
it's going to be a good one.
Since 69 does deal with oral, we're going to talk about oral communications.
I love it.
During, after,
play
before
on words.
Divorce. Maybe you can stop bouncing my. Yeah.
Oh, I saw.
You.
I was like, well, sorry.
Yep. So let's talk about oral communication with divorce. And
then we don't mean just telling her to suck your dick.
Wow. Let's talk about words you should. Let's talk about words you shouldn't say.
Suck your dick.
No, not that. Not that.
Okay, so seriously, I cannot be serious. Look at me with my sunglasses in the house.
So let's talk about words you shouldn't say, like always, you never, you always.
Yeah, you don't want to go in making the other person automatically defensive because we know what that's going to get. Your response is going to probably be matching the energies is what we say at work. I'm going to match your energy. So if you just say like, put the blame on the other person, even if it is their fault, even if you're feeling like this because of them, you just got to go in there like, okay, I'm going to express my feelings and why I feel like this. And then I will give you a moment. You can go first if you want. I will give you a moment to give your rebuttal. It shouldn't be, if you're going to start attacking someone, they're going to attack back. It's that fight or flight. You know, like I'm now at a stance where, you know, come at me. But it takes a lot, like especially when you're new in divorce. It's that you're so angry and so hurt. You just want someone else, that other person in your life, to feel that anger.
I want you to hurt just like me, or even worse than me.
Yeah.
One of the things we learned back when I was married and we went through counseling, this counselor taught us the speaker-listener technique.
Yeah.
So the one person speaks their mind, and then the other person, when the other person is done, repeats and tells them what they heard.
Yeah, and I think that goes along the lines too. Like I know there's like the talking stick. There's like, you know, especially when
sticks talk.
Yeah, I mean, if you take some magic mushrooms, they might. You're gonna give the person the floor so they can speak their mind. You're gonna be able to collect your thoughts as they're speaking.
I can't see your face. There we go.
Collect their thoughts as you're speaking, and then hopefully you come out with a little bit more couth. I think that's the word. Like, you know,
understanding.
Yeah, you have to take into consideration their feelings, even though you don't want to most of the time.
Because that Venus-Mars thing is huge.
Yeah, and don't tell girls to be quiet. Like, don't be like, hush, you need to stop talking, or like, you know, there's triggers. You can't
look at her and say, baby, don't talk.
No,
that's different.
I mean, especially if you're talking about oral conversations.
That's different. Baby, don't talk.
You're done talking.
Baby, don't talk.
Just get it.
Don't talk.
Do it.
Yeah.
But like you said, women and men communicate different, and I think that's a healthy relationship. You need to know your partner's level of communication and how they communicate. Like my big deal is I am working really hard at this. Is I shut down. Because I don't want anybody to be upset if I'm just having a moment. Like if I'm just sad today, I don't want anybody else to feel sad because I'm sad or be in this mood because I'm upset. Where like I know a lot of my marriage was a reactive thing. So like he's in a bad mood, he's yelling, he's mad at someone, something at work, blah, 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 brings that home. Now we're all on edge going, okay, how do we deal with that? Like, what do we do to counteract on his already heightened mood?
And it was again and again.
And it just became where you're like, you just didn't respond because you didn't know the reaction you were going to get. It could be the same exact thing daily and you don't know the reaction you're going to get. So I just got to this almost condescending response, like automatic responses like, Yeah. I hear you. Okay. Yeah. Just because I didn't want to make any waves, so, and a lot of that when I think it came into the biggest problem when I realized I was done dealing with it. Then I just got like, I don't fucking care.
Yep. So what do you say to the people that, live or are married or girlfriend, boyfriend is a drama monger? They want drama. Yeah. They want to argue. They want to fight.
Well, if it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you're experiencing that, like I grew up with fighting. Yep. I, would fight and yell, and
but it gets to the point where it's your normal though.
Yeah. And I think, once I stepped out of that, like constant yelling or constant, like not knowing how to react. And like, I can get along with the highlighter here. Like you see it, like I was always trying to calm someone else, fix someone else's problems, but just keep pushing mine to the side. And not that my problems were huge, but when they just keep growing and growing, at one point, you don't know what your problem is. You're like, well, I don't even know why I'm pissed off now. And so it became, my marriage was, I'm always mad and I'm always like trying to get back at him because he's hurt me or he said something or he didn't stick up for me or he did this or he talked bad about me or, mine was almost like I'm going to get revenge, but I'm not a revengeful person. So I don't know how to get back at someone. And then it was just, you know what? The only person I'm getting back at is myself because I'm allowing that behavior. And so, I think my ex and I made a really good, parenting thing because we're like, you know what? We're not going to fight because the only one affected is our son. If we're not talking or we do something, he can sense it.
You mean now?
Now
divorced.
Yeah, now that we're divorced. And so even when we were separated before the divorce and going through the divorce process, I'm like, we're never, ever fighting in front of him. We're never, ever bringing up something that he would have to pick a side. And learning to communicate for the benefit of our 10-year-old now really helped a lot of that anger and, I think our lack of communication. I just feel like hippie today.
Mrs. Doubtfire. Yes.
Hello. Where was I now?
I just had to throw you off.
I just looked up. I'm like, well, last week you were wearing my glasses. I figure, you know what? Let me try a little, different.
People have to understand.
And then your pictures on
when you're going through a divorce or you're doing some post-divorce healing, you gotta laugh.
Oh,
laughter.
I say the best
medicine
thing was my laugh muscle was healed.
Oh yeah.
I just you know what? And we've talked too, there could be the worst thing, threatening to take your kid, never going to see it. You're not going to have any money. You're going to be poor. You're going to live, whatever.
$27 in the bank.
Next.
Let me say it first. $27 in the bank, folks. I said it first.
Next day, I'm like, you know what? That's fucking hilarious. That's yeah. I can't believe I let it get to me. It did get to me.
Stupid shit.
You're in the heart of it. You're everything is the end of the world. When you're going through, especially when you're going through in the beginning of it, it's really
it's almost like you think there is no tomorrow.
Yeah. And and it's oh, yep, I'm failed. I got divorced. Goodbye. It's been fun. I like roses. I don't know. So
say what?
Send the roses.
Oh, send the roses to the dead person.
To the dead, yeah,
okay,
to me.
Okay. But once you go through it though, you think it's the end of the world. There is no other. There's no up. There's no down. There's no sideways. This is it.
Yeah.
I'm getting divorced. There's no other life. But man, there's so much life after that.
Well, and I don't think I think it's that outward perception of divorce, which I think is getting better because there's more divorce, which is terrible.
Yep. Terrible, but good.
But I also heard someone say thank goodness you can get divorced because those people that are in an abusive relationship, the narcissistic relationship, correct, battered, abused, all this stuff that allows us to get out of a bad situation, there's brightness on the other side of divorce, even though it's an ugly word. And I think that it's becoming less ugly. I think happiness is really important. I don't know that we knew what true happiness was, 20 years ago. I mean, I didn't. I thought I was happy because I had the guy, I was going to have the career, I was going to have the kids, the white picket fence, the whole 9 yards, right?
That was it.
But
You were on the path.
Now that I know who I am, because I don't really think you know who you are when you're 20.
I think you go through stages, 20, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. 60, there's some shit I don't just care about anymore. Just wait.
Oh, at 45, I was like, fuck. No, I'm done. And and I think a lot of it too, like I was talking to someone that I grew up with, and she asked me about my sister. And I says, I wish her well. She's very toxic to me in my healing, in my growth process. And if nothing else, I've learned the boundaries and where I stand with people. And she goes, that's okay. That's okay that you decided that it was a toxic relationship. Yep. And you put up I put up walls to protect myself, but also knowing I'm healing parts of that relationship that she doesn't even know about. Like I'm working through what I had to do as a child to take care of her because my parents weren't always there. And that's not on her. That's on me because that burden was put on me by my adult people in my life, not my sister. So I can't fault her for everything, but I can fault her for speaking and treating me the way that she did when in my whole heart that I've done everything that I could, and it's almost this relationship, this divorce that you're going through, you've put your trust in this person. And now how do you communicate with them after you either don't love them or you've, whatever you that step that took you to divorce. So communication, I think, is really big. And I really am trying to communicate my feelings because a lot of them are, in my head or, and if you speak them out, other people might be feeling that too. So I don't know.
Well, my coworkers have taught me to communicate better because I used to suck.
Really?
Even more so than I do now. And I probably still suck, but I suck less.
Well, and are you aware of your suckage?
Yes.
I mean, we're not talking 69.
I'm aware of the way I suck with communication, but I've gotten a lot better, and I try to work on it, which is a work in progress because, we're never.
So when you say
perfect.
that, what does that mean? Well, how are you bad at communicating?
I think my communication was tied to my anger issues.
Okay.
Especially during my divorce. Uh-huh. Everything came out negative.
You did this or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I eventually learned, just shut up, listen. That's part of communication too, is shutting up and listen.
Yeah. Active listening is really tough.
Listening is tough when you want to be right.
Well, and especially when you're going through a lot of times in divorce, you find out stuff and you're like, okay, well, my spouse wasn't communicating with me. I'm not going to communicate with them because why?
You can't lower yourself to their level.
So you almost have to take that other person out of it and I don't know.
Be the best you can be.
Yeah,
without them.
And that's the thing too. So we always say it's a grief. When you take the other person out, how do you want to live your days? I want to be happy. I don't want to fight. Mm-hmm. I just want to love on my children and, be in this wonderful relationship that I'm in. And I started playing volleyball and I feel great because I'm doing something.
Them well.
And and I really do want him, my ex, to be happy in a place where he finds happy, because a lot of times I think he is pulled into his family drama and that, will be forced out on my kids or, if dad's super stressed or, just all of these things that when you get divorced are still affected. Regardless, you're not with that person anymore. So we still have a 10-year-old together. We have a daughter who's going to graduate college. She's going to probably move back. And
so there's still some connection.
There's still all this stuff that you have to think about. And why not just make it, even if it's just fake as fuck, be like, yep, okay, very minimal, okay, yes, okay. Never throw something out I don't know. It just... I'm thankful
to make it.
Yeah, I'm thankful that we communicate pretty well. I mean, there's some times where I will make a sarcastic thing on text and then LOL when I'm actually you're a fucking idiot. Yeah. But a lot of that comes from allowing other people in his life to affect his mood, which in turn affects
It's like a cascading effect.
Yeah. So I'm like, no, I'm not allowing that in my space anymore. You don't get to fill a parking spot.
There you go.
You're welcome.
So my new thing is if divorcing you is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Ooh. Is that the title of the book?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just
grab that right now. The $27. Yeah, the book is $27.
Okay, there we go. That's perfect. One time I'll have more money than I did in the bank.
There you go.
So how did you learn, besides your coworkers, how did you realize that your communication skills were bad?
I could see it on my kids' faces.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once it was almost, I put them in the middle and I didn't want to.
Yeah.
They were thrust in the middle by my words. So I had to chill on my words. And even after I figured out chilling on my words, I felt better. I wasn't as mad, angry. Yeah.
Well, some of my anger comes from like my older son definitely has that explosive, I'm going to communicate with you. I'm going to yell so you hear me and get my point. And then I'm just going to, then it doesn't exist. And you're not allowed to talk to me about it because it's going to make me more mad. And blah, blah, blah. That's how my ex was. Like, I'm going to scream, yell. But then if I match your energy and scream, yell, now I'm the one saying I'm sorry because you're ignoring me for 3 days, or you won't talk to me, or you're giving me the silent treatment, or, you're throwing stuff or being aggressive in the house, like, knocking shit over.
Narcissism.
I'm just like,
yep.
Okay, how do I fix this? And just in my whole being, I'm
it's not your place to fix.
And I know. So like,
you didn't know that at the time.
I think one of the key things I keep saying too is I left because I didn't want my kids to see that's how families are supposed to act or how relationships are supposed to be. And they shouldn't always be tense. Like, you shouldn't always have a knot in your stomach waiting for the next fight or explosion or disownment or, whatever.
So what I'm hearing you say,
yes,
to speak of this technique, anyone out there who's going through this, the knot in the stomach, fighting all the time, they need to reevaluate their relationship.
Yeah.
Either married or girlfriend, boyfriend, because happiness is not overrated.
Oh my gosh, it's so amazing.
Tell them how it is.
It's so amazing.
Happiness is awesome.
And happiness doesn't just come from a relationship. Nope. It comes from two people. Okay, so now I'm divorced. My happiness has nothing to do with my ex. Despite, even if I'm not with him and not having to deal with it, it doesn't come from him. It stems from me. And every day when I wake up, I'm like, I'm going to choose to be happy. Yeah, there's times when people make me pissed off. But how am I being affected by someone else being an idiot? Like, I'm just going to still be happy even though you're not the best. You're not the greatest person in my face right now. But if we can try to be happy daily, like, if you're in a bad mood, everybody around you gets in a bad mood. If you're in a good mood, generally most people will come out of whatever stink they're in and make it a good day, So I don't know. It's gonna be a good day, and all my homies. Sorry,
pull it.
I love that song, but yeah. So I feel like you really need to know what makes you happy, because I don't think I knew what made me happy. Do you? I mean, like, you didn't like, I love doing this, blah, blah, blah. I had to try a whole bunch of shit.
I think happiness starts with learning how to be alone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Once you got that
was
down,
a big fear.
Oh yeah. That's a huge happy place that you're all alone. It's like, man, this is pretty cool.
Okay. So
listen to the quietness. Yeah.
Sorry, this is a podcast. We can't be quiet.
I do what I want to do.
You do you, boo. Yeah, you be quiet. I'll keep talking.
I do what I want to do, and I don't have to ask anybody.
I think this is where guys and girls differ a little too. No, I'm just saying, like, that doing things alone and like being alone, it's a dangerous world out there, and women are very aware of safety. So, like, I remember the first time going to the movies by myself. I'm like, I told, like, the manager, I'm here by myself. If anybody tries to take me, just let me know. I'm going to scream. Like, like, it's all these things. Like, and then you go to the restaurant and they're like, are you by yourself? And I'm like, yes, I'm by myself. So, I mean, going to, like, on a hike by yourself, or doing all these things, there's a big fear factor. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's men out there that have that too. But I'm just saying, like, as a woman, being aware of my surroundings, a lot of that alone stuff was, I'd rather take my girlfriend with me, or I'd rather, be
Well,
with
I'm
someone.
talking about, being home alone.
No, but I'm saying like a lot of my fear things were going out
Mm-hmm.
to like I said, going out to dinner by myself. Is someone going to follow me out to my car? Like they're going out to a bar by yourself. That's unheard of because you could get drugged or, kidnapped and all these things that go through our heads that are, you have to always be safe. I think a lot of divorce is similar because you're so many fears of the unknown of what's going to happen. And you're like, am I going to be safe? Am I going to be okay by myself? And I think it really takes that. You have to, I say this all the time. My biggest point was when I had that nervous breakdown. I was at the bottom.
It's like a transition.
Yeah. And literally the next day, yes, I had puffy eyes. I wasn't feeling great. Got a headache, but if I can get through that, because having my son see me in that state was like, I still like, ugh.
But after that, it was one step at a time.
But the next day, it was
one day, 1 hour.
The birds were louder. The sun was brighter. The whole day is like, now I'm in a place where it can only go up. So I think once maybe not everybody goes to a rock bottom. There's a pivotal point that says, okay, now you're going to be okay.
Yep.
And so once that happened and I wasn't allowing him to say mean things to me anymore, I'm like, no, that's not how it is. No. And using the word no for me was so empowering because I like, sure, I'll help. Okay. Yeah, I will. Well, let me. Well, and a lot of it was surviving.
Control.
Yeah. So I'm just like, no, you don't get to say stuff like that to me and then have our son. You don't get to say stuff like that to me and still think that we can talk nicely. And then it became, okay, these are the ground rules. We will not do that to him ever again. We will not allow our differences to affect him so much where like he thought I was going to die.
It's almost like you empowered yourself.
And I think that's what it was. And I was like, no, that's a no. And again, like I say, you have to find whatever your happiness means, like just going home and knowing that there's not going to be a fight. There's not going to be, we don't have to walk on eggshells. I can do my own thing and know that the person that is home when I get there wants the best for me as much as I want the best for him. And I feel safe and it's very empowering and it's very like, wow, like look at how far I've come. Like I just bought a new car all by myself.
There you go.
I did cry once, but all by myself, paying it. I can do my own thing. I got it. I'm like, it's such yes, I'm an adult and I've bought cars before, but my ex was in it. And you're like negotiating to me is like, oh my God, stab my eyes out with hot pokers. I hate negotiating. Just tell me.
I can't stop. Give me a price. I want to go home.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't want to haggle. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to throw up. Oh my God. Yeah. So, what are some things that helped you communicate better other than your kids? Like, did you have to say
serial dating?
Okay. Okay, no comment for that.
Yeah, it gave me.
Did you do communicating or like
communicating,
body dating? Communication,
they
verbal?
Like rhyme, don't they? Serial dating, communicating. They sound
Was it like moving and grooving, or was it actual words?
No, it was words. Just talking to women on the phone, texting. That was a way of getting out of my reality of divorce.
Yeah.
Not
oh yeah, there's. You want to turn it off too. You want to turn off that. Okay, I'm getting divorced.
I dated a girl out of Albuquerque, so I go to Albuquerque every couple of weeks. That really took me out of
divorce. Escape. Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, because even if you're not in it, you're in it.
Yep.
So.
So when I was 6.5 hours away, it was like, wow.
You had time in the car to think, or if you flew out, whatever you did. Yeah. I think my peace came from when I didn't have my son actually finding things to do that were productive and not drinking. Like Red Rocks had become my heart and soul. Like I just would go there, climb up on some of the tallest rocks,
and not have to spend a whole lot of money.
Yeah, no money, just to get me the gas, maybe get me a slushie on the way home. Just being in peaceful nature, just knowing that it's going to be okay. And if nothing else, look at the amazing views. Like, a lot of my thinking and my crying were done there because it felt like I was the most in touch with my heart and soul. Mm. So, getting out in nature, not everybody's nature people. I know, but we live in Colorado.
But find your happy. Find your nature.
And I didn't know, I didn't know going to play volleyball and, just interacting with other people who love volleyball as much as me was going to be cathartic healing. I feel better about myself. Yeah, I'm exercising a little. It really is getting back to who I am when I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who Rachel was. I was, his wife, their mom. I was the nurse. I worked on this floor. I drove this car. I lived in this place. But who was I? I adapted to he grew up there where we lived. And so I adapted to his friends, his family, his, area. And that may not have been if I didn't meet him, I might not have went there first. I might not have went back to New Jersey.
We would have never met.
Exactly. So
we had a podcast about divorce.
I know, and we wouldn't be killing it, right? Making millions. I'm just going to manifest millions. Yeah. I would like.
Speaking of manifestation, maybe you can manifest let's say that all your communication with your soon-to-be ex are all negative. Just manifest one positive relationship. Just plant that seed.
Yeah. Well, once. And I heard this really thing because when people say manifesting, okay, I am totally into all that cool crystal stuff. I think it's great. I think it's a cool sign. I think it's a cool idea. But in my head, I'm like, okay, so there's only 12 different zodiac people and everybody's the same on the whole planet, blah, 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 blah. Manifesting should be like asking Siri to play your favorite song. Someone said that to me and I was like, oh, well, that's easy. Hey, world. Hey, universe. Hey, whatever you believe in. Hey, I want, or I would love, or I believe, or Siri, I believe I will have great things said to me today. Siri, I believe I will be financially stable. But Siri, but universe. So it's not am I doing it right? Am I, saying the right words? Do I have to say Hail Mary? Do I have to do this? Whatever you have to do, if manifesting just means putting it out there in the world or Siri to hear so that you can hear it too. Because when you say it out loud, hey, I would love for this podcast to be super, super successful.
Speak it, say it, and speak it, say it, dream it, and realize it.
Yeah. And so if you can just that's why I think journaling was so good for me because I didn't realize the hurt I was going through because I'm like, oh, I'm fine. But then when especially on those guided journals where they'll ask you what was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of the day? What's something that where do you see yourself in a year? Where you see yourself in 5 years? And when I wrote it all down, they were very similar, but depending on my mood for the day, because you start with how are you feeling today? And what was your trigger today? And what was this today? When you go back and read it, you're like, oh, so when someone said you're not smart or, oh, you're so smart, you're so blonde, how did I feel? Because my trigger is not believing in myself that I'm smart. And so I could see how my manifesting was different on those days. So you really have to figure out what you are, what's your final goal for happiness. And when you find happiness, how do you live that? How are you in happiness? Because I'm happy.
That's our next podcast, happiness.
Yeah, there we go. Number 70. The big 70. It's going to be happiness. But when you communicate better and when you decide to communicate better, you're going to have more happy days. And I think that leads to a happy life because you got one day at a time, right? So I think I just did happy days one day at a time. A bunch of others.
Sunday, Monday, happy days.
So how did you communicate with your ex once you realized it was affecting your kids?
Text and email.
Okay. And that's fine.
Yeah. I couldn't do voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Text and email.
Okay.
And it was a lot better because it took the emotion out of it, which
Yeah.
was definitely needed.
Which can also backfire because if you say one thing and there's like, I'm not saying this meanly, I'm saying this sarcastically.
Yeah, but there's
That
no
helps.
emotion. But there's no emotion in my
Sometimes
text.
I'm like, really? You don't know where that is?
It's like
Okay.
2 + 2 = 4. Have a nice day. Bang.
Yeah. So I think when I don't want to deal with them, it's very short-ended texts. When I'm fired up, it's like long text, and I got to delete half of it because I'm like, I'm going to fucking start a fight.
See?
So,
All right, Rachel, final words, final thoughts.
being we do podcasts, we love to communicate. So I think everybody needs to, when you're in the beginning of divorce, I got no rules because you got to go through all that stuff anyway. Yep. You got to find.
But just listen to us. There is a life after divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
trust us.
And if you're going through divorce, you've already decided that you're done. It's going to get ugly, but it's pretty awesome on the other side of unhappy. And learning how you communicate, learning how your spouse communicate, because I don't think a lot of times when you're in a marriage, you even care how the other person
especially when you get divorced, yeah.
And even when you're when you realize you're unhappy before you go through that divorce where you've pulled the trigger, you're like, hey, I don't like how you're talking to me, but you deal with it because it's your spouse. When you decide you're going through divorce, you're like, oh, it's not going to be my spouse. So I'm going to be a little more rough because I don't really care in the beginning. But if you can find a happy means to communicate with your spouse, it's really going to help everybody heal.
Everybody.
Especially if you have kids. Yep. Don't negative speak.
Especially you, if you put your mask on first than your kids.
Yeah. Yep. And, I hear my son say some things sometimes, and I'm just like, I'm just so happy that doesn't happen in our house because when you get here, we can communicate. And sometimes he comes there and he's sassy and I have to raise my voice. Or sometimes he's sassy and I have to put him in his room. But it's not just to yell. Yep. It's not just to put him in his room. Because
and it doesn't matter what happens at mommy or daddy's house because we are here.
Yeah.
Here in the moment. This is what I control. This is what I can't control.
Half the stuff he says has to do with like ranch life. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's like, I don't know the context of something that's been told at my ex's house. So if my son comes in and says, blah, I'm like, okay, cool.
Cool.
And then later I might be like, what the hell? What? Yeah. So
you shouldn't say anything right there. Bam.
Yeah, you really, and again, kids, like when they come, you don't know the context. You don't know what was said before that. And I don't really care. Yep. So you really try, if nothing else, try to at least every other conversation be kind.
Yeah,
use kindness.
Kind words.
Pretend that person's a stranger and you don't know their life and you don't live in their shoes and all the other stuff, and just choose kindness first. I mean, I always say plant seeds of kindness and watch love grow. Yep. That's, even though you're getting divorced, try to show as much compassion and empathy for the other person because it's going to affect all the people around. Yep. So. All
right, Miss Rachel.
And it's number 69. So get your oral conversation on.
Yep. Because it's oral.
Because oral. Hey, there's a book. It's called like Kama Sutra. You should look that one up. There's a lot of stuff in there.
That's so wrong.
Hey.
Kama Sutra at your local library.
Take David. He'll help you buy pot in the bathroom.
I know exactly where it is. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to episode 69. Oral communication.
We should have had Kelly on this one, too.
Oh, my gosh.
Imagine the props. I love our guests. If anybody else wants to be a guest, hit us up.
I mean, I have somebody.
I know. I'm bringing I think I should get paid more.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. All right, everybody.
Okay.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.